Hey everyone, this is George here from Lucia. On today's podcast, we have Jean Dubrulle, the founder of Mailmeter. Jean, welcome to the podcast. Can you please introduce yourself, your position, Mailmeter? Um,
Sure. Thank you, George, for having me. Hi
Pleasure.
everyone. My name is Jean, and I'm the founder of Mailmeter. So Mailmeter is a French solution. It's an emailing tool that you can use with Gmail, and that allows you to send personalized emails directly from your Gmail account. Currently, Mailmeter is like the best rated Google add-on on the Google Workspace Marketplace, and we got around 3 million users worldwide. And we've been working on this solution for 3 years, and we have exciting stuff to come this year in 2022.
Very exciting. For the folks that aren't too familiar with you guys, and congrats on the growth that you guys are having, what problems does your organization usually solve?
There are many solutions allowing you to send mass emails from email marketing solutions to sales automation platforms. And what we wanted to tackle at the very beginning with Mailmeter is that we needed a simple solution that was directly integrated with the Google Suite. The tools you're already familiar with when you're a salesperson or a marketing person. And most importantly, we wanted it to be like intuitive, but at no cost for users' privacy. So we wanted a solution that isn't invasive in terms of permissions. That's why we built a tool like Mailmeter.
Exciting. And in terms of like differentiation from competitors, how does Mailmeter separate themselves from the rest of the market?
So of course, we have so many. It's a crowded space, a crowded industry. But if I had to mention maybe the three main differences, the first one would be email deliverability. So for those who are not familiar with the concept, it's just a complicated word to say how many emails actually end up in your recipient's inbox. And Mailmeter can help you dramatically increase your email deliverability for the simple reason that emails are sent directly from your Gmail account, from your own very own account reputation, and from official Gmail servers. So contrary to email marketing platforms like MailChimp or SendGrid, the emails are directly routed through your Gmail account. And emails are not like marketing-ish. They're really like plain text. You can actually add images and stuff like this. But of course, they are much more like natural and human, which in the end improves a lot your email deliverability. Besides, we have some in-house like technology to help you increase this email deliverability, such as a way of distributing emails in a natural flow instead of blasting them all at once. The second difference would be maybe like the simplicity, the intuitiveness of the tool, and the fact that it's way more affordable than any email solution you can find out there. Most solutions will come at a pricing around maybe 30, 40, 60 bucks for just one users. And most of them will also reduce the number of contacts you can reach per day. So we at Mailmeter are based on the Gmail sending limits that are 2,000 emails per day. And we have a pricing starting at $10 per month. And maybe my last point as a differentiator would be the privacy, in the sense that Mailmeter, contrary to most mail merge and email marketing solutions, isn't requesting any access to your email inbox. It means that when you install the add-on, you can check the list of the permissions the add-on requests, and you can see that Mailmeter isn't requesting any access to your inbox or Drive folder as a whole. And whereas solutions competitors could ask maybe reading, modifying, or permanent deleting access to your email inbox. So we decided on purpose to switch away from that and make a tool that is completely privacy focused.
That's amazing. And that's very interesting. I think you hit three important areas, key areas. I mean, privacy, security, ease of use and access, your ability not to get blocked and send out emails in a strategic manner. And the price and cost, because that's also important to a lot of people. And sometimes buying the most expensive tool doesn't mean it's going to get you the best results for you too. So you've had a quite interesting journey, right? Like from going from a student to a project manager to a growth marketer and then co-founder of Mailmeter. Can you tell us about the journey and what led you to kind of decide to start Mailmeter? Was it like pain points that you ran through and you said, I'm just going to take it upon myself to fix it? Or have you always had that idea since you were a student?
Sure. So we have a bit of backstory behind Mailmeter. So 3 years ago, I was working at a place called Station F, which is the largest campus hosting startups in the world. So basically, it's a place in Paris, an old train station that was completely transformed into a giant startup campus where you can find 1,000 startups, but also all the services surrounding startups, such as perks, VC funds, public services, a makerspace, and a restaurant, and so on and so on and so on. So my role there at Station F was managing the different partnerships we were providing to startups. And at some point, I faced a challenge in the way that I had so many people that I wanted to interact with on a daily basis, so many partners. I'm talking about maybe 500, 600 people that I wanted to interact with. And I wanted them, when they received my emails, to feel unique, to feel that Jean was actually writing them and was taking care of them. So instead of using another solution, and because we were kind of running at low cost, we decided to build our own solution, and it was also a way for me to step forward, because for years I had given advices to founders about their startups, how to grow, how to raise funds and stuff like this. But I felt kind of the same as someone giving advices about children when I'm not a father myself, So building my own product was actually a way to fix this situation and to step into the entrepreneurship world with a simple solution with a proven market fit. Email has been existing for 20, 30 years. There were competitors of ours way before we existed, or maybe our most ancient competitors is 10 years old. But we decided to have a clean, fresh approach with a much simpler tool, and also new features offered in a more private, privacy-focused way.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. That's interesting. I think, you talked about stepping into the entrepreneurship world, right? What were some of the challenges that you faced that you weren't expecting? You learned something new and it hit you right away? Because you went from somebody that was talking to founders about, startups and how they raise funds and go to market to having your own. Are there things that you saw that you didn't know of before?
Sure. Maybe I can think of two. The first one would be, again, on the privacy part. When we first released Mailmeter, the Google ecosystem for add-ons was much more opened in the way that you could release an app without so much audits from Google. And at the very precise time when we decided to launch our startup, Google implemented processes that you need to run through when you want to share something to the whole world through the Google Marketplace or the Chrome Store. So basically, when you're a Google developer offering services, interacting with the Gmail APIs, sending emails, you will need to run through paid security audits, which range from $15,000 to $75,000. So it's kind of entry barrier cost. And these audits are really thorough in the way that they check everything that you request in order to send emails on behalf of our clients. So maybe that was the first challenge, because when we started, we were like, okay, cool, we're gonna replicate a Mailmeter solution and we're gonna apply all of our UX experience into building something great, but we weren't aware of such a thing. But when we knew about it, we were too far in the process, so we decided to iterate, find ways to reduce even more the permissions we ask, and pass those audits without any problem. Maybe the second challenge I can think about is about going from your first customer to your first hundreds customer. Of course, the first customers is always amazing, you know, receiving a Stripe notification while you're drinking coffee, and you're like, okay, someone in the world has just taken his credit card, entered the code, and paid for a solution that you built. So that's an amazing feeling. And the path to the first 100 customer, it may be a hard one depending on your situation. But in our situation, I found out that tools like Lucia were actually really helpful, because we did like the very basic, like we did things that don't scale. We listed everyone we knew in our network, and everyone these people knew in their own network. And basically we contacted everyone. And that's how we actually closed our first deal. And that's how we became the first product of the day on Product Hunt, just by being, very methodical, and by contacting everyone we knew, finding emails when we didn't have the contacts from services like Lucia.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Speaking of mail delivery, what does that look like in 2022? Are there any trends or changes that we can expect this year?
Okay. I can think maybe three main trends. Maybe the first one, and it's expected, will be a turn on privacy, in the sense that more and more you can see that the international legislation is changing about it. You can see that providers like Apple with iOS 15 are implementing extra security measures on privacy. So I think the consequences are, first, that there will be more value in permission-based email lists. So if you have taken the time and effort to actually make sure that people opt into your list and build that list over time, instead of buying a cheap stuff, something that you shouldn't do, never do, online. If you have built your own mailing list with a sweat and effort, then this will have more and more value. And another consequence I can think of is about engagement, in the way that for years people have tracked the opening metrics, but I find it as a not so accurate metric to track. So I would more and more rely on metrics such as engagement, replies rates, or bounce rates, because they can give you actual information about the way people interact with your email and are interested about your email. Of course, you can always track opening rates, but I would tend to think of them as more global metric, in an indicator, but not as an actual stuff that you need to follow. Maybe the second big trend would be about automation. You hear it, of course, you hear more and more about it, and it's amazing what you can do with no-code or low-code solutions. You can plug services between each other. Tools like Lucia have their own APIs that you can glue with services like Integromat, Zapier, and 8n. So it's amazing what you can do with automation, and anyone could build their own onboarding sequence by email, or their very own sales workflow without knowing anything, or without spending hundreds of dollars in costs. In terms of automation, I can also talk to you about AI and warm-up tools. So these are two of the big buzzwords we can hear at the moment in emailing. People are trying to sell you stuff about ice breakers generated by AI, or email warm-up tools that are supposed to fix all your email deliverability problems. Of course, these are interesting solutions, but and it will be my last point, I think this year we'll also notice a back to basic movements in the way that email remains one of the most trustworthy channel, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. A simple plain text email, well written, with a segmented, targeted approach, a cleaned database that you curated through services like Lucia. I think this is like basic, but most people don't cover this basic. And if you do, I can assure you that you will get results that will go way beyond your expectations.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So in today's world, it's not even, I mean, I know delivery rate's important, definitely, but that goes back to your third point, right? Like cleanliness of data and having a good data provider that you can pull and source the information from. But it sounds like the engagement and reply parts, like one of those most crucial areas. Are there any like industry averages, would you say, that people should keep in mind, or is it different company per company, industry per industry? Because we speak to industries, and in some industries, some people are sending out hundreds of thousands of emails per year per person. Some other industries, it's more like maybe 500 emails per month. That's 500 people being emailed a month, but you're also calling them, checking with them on LinkedIn, and hitting them in all different types of directions. How do you best measure engagement, and where do you set the kind of the standard, or that I can't think of the word right now, the threshold, or the status quo? What does the status quo do?
So here I could tell you, okay, a good reply rate is about 10%. When you send cold emails, you can expect between 15% to 25% reply response rate. Okay, the truth is, and we all know about it, it all varies on who you are, who you're writing to, what kind of emails you send, your industry, the context, the timing, and stuff like this. So these numbers don't mean anything. And if I were you, I would strongly recommend you to review your email performance based on actual engagement metrics, and about the desired results you expect when grasping your email, finding them, and email them to your recipient. So as an example, if your example is to drive more revenue, you might be interested in noting down how many interviews you've booked, or sales meetings, or even sales generated in terms of actual cash. That would be my first point. And my second point would be that instead of measuring objectives in terms of opening rate or click rates, I would maybe measure more red flags, such as a high bounce rate or a high unsubscribe rates. A high bounce rate is about maybe 2%, 5% in some cases, but the best is to stay lower than this threshold. Same for unsubscribe rates, which is even lower. The reason why is basically it shows a bad signal for email providers, and it might affect your email reputation as a whole. So checking these red flags would help you further improve your email campaigns. So yeah, so basically measuring engagement and checking about red flags.
Very interesting about the email score. Like, how do you ruin your email reputation? And is it easy to do? I feel like a lot of people do it by accident. It's a very hard process to get back your domain and get it going how it was before.
Actually, you can get blocked pretty easily. And in former jobs, I have myself got blocked, even though I was sending legitimate emails, at least in my eyes, to like a clean contact list, a verified email list. So I was very surprised when I first got my email from Google saying, okay, your account is disabled. So first of all, it's not a drama because you can always unblock your account at least a few times. And you can always get you out of block lists. However, of course, the day you start being in the radar, it's not a good thing for you. And obviously, there are easy things you can do to avoid this, which I could detail if you want. But it's not like it's not forever. And it's not necessarily because among your whole domain, there is one sender that is a rotten apple in a bigger basket of good ones, that your whole domain is going to be affected. But you must at every time ensure that you're compliant, that you're not affecting your email reputation. Sometimes it arrives, and we all have situations in which we put our email reputation at risk. But if you try to stick by the sending guidelines and abide by anti-spam laws at all times, then you're mostly safe to send emails. And I'm telling you that because I was talking about email warm-up tools earlier on. It's a big trend in the industry. It's very useful in some cases, especially if you're a power user in terms of emailing. But let's be honest, for most people using their email in a normal way, you don't necessarily need to warm up your email forever. In my eyes, and it's also because these guys are kind of complementary solutions, but also kind of competitors. In my eyes, it's also a way to attract you to a bigger product in their price plans. But still, it can be interesting in a way to give you another measure to warm up your IP or domain reputation.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that's pretty helpful. And like going back to your other point earlier, I think you mentioned keeping it simple and make sure your messaging are personalized. And if you have to leverage AI and some automations as well, like that could be helpful. And it's kind of becoming a trend in this new year. What are some best practices to keep in mind when it comes to having a touch of personalization, but also some level of automation where not everything needs to be manual? Is there like any best practices that you suggest that people can just kind of focus on that can be repeated for other folks at those companies, maybe, so you're not personalizing every single email or subject lines too?
Yeah, sure. So if I had maybe one single advice to give to a sales rep or marketing people, it would be to browse the emails they received themselves and try to notice the ones that caught their attention in the first place, so as to analyze what in the copy was great and what they could replicate. Put it another way, my advice would be very simple. It would be write like a human, and always keep it simple. Like if it sounds like writing, then you need to rewrite it completely. Basically, when you receive an email or a LinkedIn message saying, "Hi, George," or "Dear George, carriage return, blah, 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 blah." Okay, spam. And so maybe a good exercise would be to browse your own LinkedIn inbox and try to see what kind of messages caught your attention. And you'll see that most of them follow the same rules. First of all, they're short and concise. They go straight to the point. There are maybe 4 sentences length. They're very much personalized. They care about you. They talk about you. They did some research about you. you don't feel like they just used the high first name variable or stuff like this. They actually went through some analysis. They don't look fishy in the way that they don't use like spam trigger words, email, exclamation marks, uppercases or stuff like this. Like, again, it's as if you were writing to someone you know through a text message on your mobile phone. And I feel like sometimes you may need to write your own cold emails on your mobile, because that way you will remove all the fluff you're used to add when you're writing on a computer, all the greeting formulas, all the complex sentences, all the stuff that you actually don't need. And maybe my last advice would be to just sound real, just sound human. So I know it's very basic, but you'd be surprised how many people just don't actually do that. Add a profile picture to your account, whether in your Gmail account, or you can add it. It's kind of new technology, not so new anymore, but it's called Be My or By My. I don't know. It's BIMI, and that's something that you can set up at your server level, and it will allow you to display an image when sending mails, at least email marketing campaigns. So just sending an email like if you are a real person that you actually are, adding a profile picture, a simple signature, not a complex one with hundreds rows and columns, you know. If you just do that, you're way above any prospecting email that you can see. And then last advice would be to never give up and follow up at the right time. So avoiding stuff like quick heads up, just checking if you might be busy, or actually passive aggressive sentences. So you avoid any of this stuff and you follow up like you were following with a friend. So again, you will find your own sentences, but these are basic principles that you should always stick with.
I like that a lot because, you know, if you think about people's attention spans is very short, right? I want to be able to get a message that if I slide down my notifications on my phone, I can read it without clicking the email. And, you know, not every time people are clicking emails, but they are reading it. If it's good content, they're going to respond to you. So I do love that, and using your cell phone for it to keep you in line. And I think our schools trained us to be wordy, right? Like,
yeah,
we've had assignments that required a minimum number of characters, and it makes you add these filler words that are completely unnecessary, just to drag a point that could be in 4 sentences across
yeah.
two or
And
three
you
pages.
actually want to talk about you, whereas you should speak about the person you're interacting with. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing. You know, I want to wrap this up, you know, with one more thing. As a best practice, what do you think one of the best ways to use Lucia would be with Mailmeter together?
Sure. So, as you know, the two services are very complementary. And I'm also very happy to share that we partnered actually with Lucia. So for anyone using Mailmeter, they can get credits on Lucia. A basic use case would be to actually find emails from Lucia, build a small contact list in a Google spreadsheet, and then use this spreadsheet as your contact list for sending emails with Mailmeter. This would be the most simple use case, and you can apply it to any industry you work with, whether it is events, marketing, sales, and HR, whatsoever. Maybe a more interesting use case you wouldn't have think of in the first place would be to use a combination of Lucia, Mailmeter, and then in between you could use Zapier as a glue service. So let's explain myself. I know that Lucia has a Google Sheet integration thanks to Zapier that allows you to, maybe if you're trying to find emails from first name, last name, and company name, you could have your spreadsheet with this information in your columns. Then you sync Lucia and Google Sheets thanks to Zapier. So everything is explained on Lucia's website. I think if you type Lucia Zapier Google Sheets, you will find it as a first link. But then by providing Lucia's API key, you will be able to get the emails you're looking for. And then all you need to do is to send email through Mailmeter. So it could be very practical in the sense that you could feed this spreadsheet automatically thanks to Zapier and have your own mini CRM for experimenting sales sequences, prospecting people, or maybe running interviews, research, and stuff like this.
And this is all through Google Suite without any necessary, you don't have to buy Salesforce or a complex CRM system. So it could be like for any size company, right? From the small size all the way up to the enterprise companies out there doing massive volume of outreach too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very exciting. Well, Jean, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. Definitely took down a lot. And for our listeners, go check out Mailmeter. And Jean, we'll provide our website actually in our post, so we'll have that ready to go for everyone. And again, thank you so much. And this has been a pleasure.
Thank you, George. Bye.
Yeah, bye.